I hope you're going to rev with me, and maybe we should get up and maybe doing a bit of shaking and a bit of moving and a bit of like leaping, okay? It's leap, yeah, so let's get leaping. Okay, move. Now, my dear assistant, when you've warmed up, so you can sit down again, but this is not going to be a slow story. This is going to be a story that moves in lots of directions. So are you ready? Are you sitting uncomfortably? Because we're going to go down into the underworld. My assistants, where are they? Mark and Lucy, are they being dispensed? Dispensed. Okay, some lucky bags are coming round. So dip your hands in, because it's all crucial. Okay, so Dark Mountain isn't all about gloom and doom or dark pastoralism. One of the things we do at Dark Mountain is actually to find those fragments of old story or old myth that still make sense. And what we do at the beginning of most events is to read a poem. As we face catastrophe, people say, "You're reading a poem?" And I went, "Yeah, that's what writers do." We write them and we read them for a very particular reason. Because in order to hear myth or story correctly, you need to do a bit of a shift, right? You can't be in supermarket reality when you're listening to a myth. You've got to kind of shift yourself. So here I am. I'm going to start with a poem that I didn't write by a lovely poet, and it's about seeds. This whole story is about seeds, and it's called Meadowsweet. So they buried her and turned home. A drab psalm hanging about them like har, not knowing the liquid trickling from her lips would seek its way down, and that caught in her slowly unraveling plait of grey hair were summer seeds. Meadowsweet, bastard balm, tokens of honesty, already beginning their crawl towards light, so showing her, when the time came, how to dig herself out, to surface and greet them, mouth young and full of again, of dirt and spit and poetry. Kathleen Jamie, who wrote that poem, said that tradition suggests that certain of the Gaelic women poets were buried face down. The reason it is said that they were buried face down was so their souls would not escape and thus pollute the world with their female ways and their knowledge. But the seeds took them back up to light again, and here we are, with our knowledge. So, it's called the Kist because the Kist is an old Scots word, still in use, and it means casket or container, and also a coffin. And a story is a container. And this story is about a container, about a kist taken by a girl called Psyche into the underworld to give to the goddess of death, Persephone, and come back again. Because as you know, anybody can fall into the underworld. But who is it who can return from the underworld with treasures in their kist? And surely this is our challenge. Because this is a story not only about the underworld, but the girl called Psyche, whose name means soul, and butterfly. Both things that require to undergo some very difficult process that we say, oh, transformation, thinking it's just a word rather than a very difficult, hard process we have to undergo. The butterfly has to dissolve in a cocoon and to move from being a rapacious caterpillar to a beautiful butterfly pollinator of the world. And that is a process. That is a process given to each soul born on this planet. And it is our task, a strange thing, a task. It is our task to develop that soul. And we don't live in a culture that develops that soul or even thinks we've got one, unless we're going to be saved from some mythical force. But we're not going to go down that path and talk about religion. Because here we are in the story of Psyche, which is encapsulated itself in a container of a novel written by Apuleius, sometimes known as Lucius Apuleius, who's a Berber in what is now Algeria. And he was tutored in Carthage, and he came to Rome, and he wrote this scurrilous tale called Metamorphosis, or The Golden Ass. And in this scurrilous storytelling is encapsulated the love story of Eros and Psyche. And within that story itself, like the final Russian doll within its layers, are the 4 tasks of Psyche. And because I know we are all waiting to go downstairs and do some drumming and dancing and leaping and possibly eating and drinking, yes, I am only going to talk about the first task. And so here we are, we're going to talk about the first task. And I expect you're wondering what those seeds are doing in your hands, right? Have you all got some? Yeah? We're going to get to those in a minute. But first I want to talk about narrative. Everybody's talking about narrative. We want a new narrative. We want to roll it out. We want to go forward. We want to progress. We want to go from A to B and end happily ever after. But actually, what happens if those aren't the stories we need right now? What happens if the stories are right underneath our feet, broken in shards? And what happens if those stories actually go a different shape? They take the shape of the butterfly so that you can go out and come back again, like the bee. Like you can go down into the underworld and come back again and make a great spiral as you go down, and a great spiral as you come up again. And one of those stories are the ones that can really connect us with this totally non-linear nature of the planet. Because we don't go in straight lines. And so we have to go into the underworld to change. And we just don't want to. Psyche doesn't want to go down there either. She's a bit of a pain, really. I've been living with this myth for a bit, and normally I really like the people that I go hang out with in mythology, but Psyche's a bit of a pain. She despairs at every point. But actually, this is really key because everyone's despairing right now. Oh, I'm in despair. Oh, I'm hoping. No, I'm in despair. I'm hoping. I'm in despair. You know, so you're in this kind of duality. And we don't need to really kind of deal with it. What we have to realize is it's a state. She's in heartbreak. She's just lost her lover. And in comes Venus and says, "You're never going to get my boy. Tough, you're never going to do it." "Oh," says Psyche, "please, please. He's the love of my life. I am broken-hearted. I have to live with him." "Well," says Venus, "you got to do some work, girl. Get on down." And so this is the story of how Psyche, who's a bit of a ninny, to be honest, she's got a good heart and she's got a lot of courage inside herself, but she knows nothing. But, you know, we're in a civilization that knows nothing, right? We're all ninnies sitting here. Look what a bloody mess we're in, right? With technology, we know so much about it, we know everything. But there are consequences if we don't do our underworld journey, and we are living them out right now. Plagues, floods, fires, pestilence, locusts, they're all here. Yeah, there are consequences. So, there is no culture that was archaic or indigenous that did not have this process. It's there. It's in us. It's in our very hands. But most of the myths we like are the ones that go out, they're full of the questing, the big male myths, right? Get on your horse, go out into the forest. I've got this special sword, I've taken it out of the lake, I'm going up to my mountain, I'm doing my vision quest, I'm coming down with my all-important word. But you know, the female myths are not like this. The female myths have to go down. They go into the kitchen. They're called kitchen work because they happen in the ordinary places. They mean you have to take your princess dress off. In fact, you have to take all your kit off sometimes, and you get hung on a hook and left there for 3 days. Or you have to wear a coat of moss, or your hands get cut off. I mean, they're tough, right? They're not glamorous. The glamour things you have to leave behind. So, we're going to get to the sorting of the seeds, because that is the very first task. Each of them require an ability to listen to instruction. So, I hope you're going to listen to instruction. There are 6 seeds in your hands. This is the bit where we do audience participation. Okay? So, what are the 6 seeds in your hands? Can anybody name any of them? Barley, very good. Yeah. No, not hemp. Lentil, very good. Okay, we've got 2 of them. What? No, not black-eyed pea. But there is a bean there. Nope. Chickpea. Okay, we've got number 3. Very good, very good. Anybody else? Wheat. Good, excellent. 4. Barley we've had. Somebody was very near it with a bean there. No, it's not an aduki bean. Okay, I'm going to give you a bit of a hand here. This is a fava bean. Okay, this is the original bean, native bean for here. And there's also a very tiny seed which you can't possibly see, which may have gone down to the bottom. Has it? Yeah, possibly. Which is poppy seed. Okay, so these 5 seeds are the seeds of civilization. These are the seeds that came out of the Fertile Crescent, and we've been eating all our lives, and you don't even know them when you get them in your hands, huh? That's how clever we are as a civilization. We don't realize the stuff of life, because it's very rarely in our hands, but it is in our hands, right? So this is what Psyche's having to do. She's looking at the seeds of civilization. I'm going to pull one of them out of my pocket right now. Hang on. This is where you worry about the props, which are not props. Ah, there it is. Okay, tiny, right? This is naked barley. Some of you got it in your hands. Naked barley. One of the things about all these seed mysteries, all these seed myths, are that you go down into the earth. Whether you are going into the Kiva, or whether you're going to the Eleusinian mysteries, or whether you're going in, as you might even now go to Newgrange in Ireland, at the back of the solar passage and seeing a wheat sheaf right at the back. And one guide said to me, we don't really know what it's doing there. And it's like, what are you eating for your breakfast? That's what it's doing there. Okay, so I'm really interested in these myths because they are not about the wild world. They are about this relationship, this deal we have to do with the planet as an agricultural culture. We need to honor the seed that is in our hands. And not only do we honor the seed, but if you look at the seed, the naked barley. So this is a barley that used to feed us and is being grown again in Britain. Because do you know where all these seeds are actually grown from? The ones you're holding in your hands? Can anybody guess where they're grown? They are all grown here. Every single one. Even the chickpea has just come out of Suffolk fields for the very first time. This is partly because of climate change. And it's exciting, not because in a kind of Brexity kind of way, I don't mean that. It's exciting because we are getting more resilient by growing our crops and not grabbing them from everywhere else. So that's exciting. But if you look at this seed, this tiny seed, it takes you to the fields where these stuff are grown. Because most people eating, and I'm guessing you too, do not actually know the difference between barley and wheat when you see it in a field. We don't have that relationship. We don't really know why what is happening when the field gets flooded, as they are, where I live now. All the fields are flooded. That's going to make it really difficult spring for a lot of farmers. You're looking at pesticides. You're looking at soil degradation. You're looking at a lot of things, and just this tiny thing is taking you right there. But it's not only taking you there, it's also taking you back in deep time into the mysteries that take you to realize that this tiny thing is keeping us alive. In the old days, we had a deal with agriculture. And Metamorphosis was written at a time where there were mystery schools running alongside these old civilizations, which were very repressive, as ours is now. But the mystery schools were open to everybody. Men, women, it didn't matter where you were somebody who'd lived in the city all your life, or whether you were a foreigner, whether you were a visitor, even whether you were a slave or free, it made no difference. Everybody could go to them. And you could say, oh yeah, but we can't go to these mystery schools anymore and learn the great ways of the germination process that connects us with that soul, that spark of life inside ourselves, and finds that light that we can go back up out of the dark. These mystery schools are all dead, right? But the writers still remember, right? We still remember how to shift us into a different gear. And these annoying storytellers you've been hearing all day are still the people that remember and remind us they've got the map. The map is still here. But are there the explorers to do it? And then there are the activists who are standing up and going, hey, this planet really, really needs our work on it right now. And those are the people that we need to listen to. The people in the everyday, the people in the kitchens who are caring about the naked barley. Or someone like Julia Butterfly Hill, who climbed at the top of a redwood tree where she sat for 2 years, waiting for the tree to speak with her. And one day, there was a big storm that came. And it moved through the tree, and it was massive, right? So there's Julia Butterfly Hill hanging on for dear life and going, storm, now, tree, speak with me. Tell me what I must do, as all the loggers are down below her, threatening to cut the actual tree down. And the tree said, transform or die. So that's my little message to you. We've got to transform or die, guys. Okay. So, the underworld is where you do that transforming, right? The germination of the seed. We've got to lose that husk. And you don't want to go there, because they've got no signal in the underworld. And it's not going to look very good on your CV, and no one is going to love you when you come back. But still, you've got in touch with something. Because it's not just our soul, our personal process. We have to, what do we used to call it in the 90s? We have to deal with our stuff. It's not just dealing with our stuff when we go into the underworld. It's all the ledgers we're given to when we're born. You know, this great stack of ledgers of all the things your family didn't look at through the generations. all the stuff, that nation, that country you're born into that you're rather ashamed of and you rather wish you hadn't been, all that, all the empires that have ever been, your part in that. That's the work we have to do down in the underworld. And the underworld is the place where it comes right at you. But how amazing to do that for the world. Because every culture before us said, there is no such thing as a free lunch on planet Earth. You've got to do your tasks. You've got to give back. I mean, where in our civilization does anybody say you have to give back to the planet? Right? Every breath we take, every mouthful we eat, does anybody say thank you? Huh? Do we? No, we don't. We don't live in a culture that says thank you. We don't live in a culture that says you've got to do your tasks and hey, you, we're all doing it. How exciting would that be to be in a room where everybody's doing that stuff and can bring their story about doing that stuff just because that's what we're doing as everything goes horribly wrong. Because all the cultures know that everything comes out of the dark. We're so obsessed with light, we want to keep the lights on, right? But we are surrounded by dark matter. We are surrounded by dark energy. The light is a brief moment in our lives. And so the dark has always been really, really valuable. And when we go there, two things happen. First of all, we start seeing these shapes in our lives. We start seeing the shape of the longhouse and of the kiva. We start seeing the shapes of the tumulus. We start seeing the shapes of a people around the table, around the storytelling fire. And we realize we're not on our own because we've entered deep time. When we enter deep time, it goes that way. And as you do, the future goes that way. And suddenly you're living in a very big place, all connected. That's why you go down into the underworld. And that's why Psyche realizes that she doesn't have to despair, because at every twist and turn, at every task she's given, a little being comes and helps. In the first one, it is from the insect kingdom. A kindly ant, Apuleius says, spoke to her and said, I can help you. I'm going to bring my sisters with me, and we're going to sort those seeds together. And so she did. The next morning, all the seeds were in their 6 piles. And Venus came down and she was like really annoyed and went, right, I'm going to give you another one. But we're not going to hear about that right now because we haven't got time. And I'm an old journalist and I realize the thing is it's all about time and whether you can make that deadline. So I'm going to check the time. Oh yeah, okay, we've got 5. We've got 5 minutes. So I'm just going to finish the story. The thing I want to leave you with is there is another line of knowledge which I have been searching for. Like the Gaelic poets or the women buried underneath the earth. We have to find it hidden, and it is beneath us in bits of fragments. Because we know, don't we, that although Apuleius calls Venus a hussy, and her son, Cupid, a naughty boy, we know that she is a planetary force. And we know that her son, Eros, is a primordial creator of the universe and someone we welcome. She is not just your bad old mother-in-law. And there's something I teach when I teach writing. And I'm going to move away from the microphone because I need another prop. Hang on. It's called the uneasy chair. You might think you need to go out and do a mystery school, or you need to meet certain people, but actually the relationship between Venus and Psyche is the most interesting thing about the story, because that plays out in everything that we ever do within ourselves. There's a Psyche, there's a Ninny, right? There's a Ninny inside us, and I call that sitting on the uneasy chair. When you sit in the uneasy chair, it's very, very difficult because you're just having a lot of experiences happening. You don't know quite why they're happening, but they're happening. But you're feeling them, and you're in them. And then there's another part of you, right? This is Venus. Venus knows what's going on. She's trying to communicate to Psyche and giving her hard tasks. But she's not being vile here. What she's doing is she's teaching her rigor, intelligence, discernment, all kinds of things she needs to know so that she can earn the love, so she can earn Eros coming back with his wings and enfolding her and raising her from the dead, because she dies down in the underworld. And that's a relationship we all have. I teach it in writing because all the best writers in the world have this relationship. The part of them that knows and the part of them that doesn't know. The part that is on the line and just feeling everything. And then there's the part that goes, you're feeling this because this is happening and this is happening. And this dynamic happens in consciousness. It happens to everybody. You don't have to be a writer to have this. But writers have to have that down to be any cop, at least in my book. Anyway. My question is, can we go down there as a culture? Do we have the courage, actually, to go and take our Kist? Our container of all the work that we have to do, given to us by our culture, given to us by our families, given to us by our genders, given to us by the people that we are, the individuals that we are, the lineage, the long lineage that goes all the way back to our ancestors. Do we have the courage to go down? Can we remember? Can we listen to instruction and put those coins in the mouth so that we might go across the river and pay Chiron? Do we have the barley cakes in our hands, sweetened with honey, that we can give to the three-headed hound of Hades so we do not get bitten? Can we present to Persephone our empty casket and ask for the treasure of the underworld? And can we take it back? And can we, most importantly, once we've made our way back and we feel, oh, I've done the 4 tasks, oh, she's got to let me go now, right? But then can we, at the last minute, do the thing the women always do, right? Because what's in that box, right? Their best thing, their curiosity. What does she do that she's never supposed to do? She opens the box. She disobeys. Have we got the courage to disobey? Because this is the time if we're going to do it. And let's go and do that. Thank you for listening. Thanks a lot.